Hey guys, and welcome back to the Self Care Beyond the Bath series. This is part two, the mind. So, in part one, we talked about the body and we talked about how the body cares for us and how the body does whatever it needs to do in order to keep us healthy and to heal us and to keep us in working order. And then we talked about how we can destroy our bodies with what we put into it. And then we also talked about how we can nourish our bodies so that we can, help our body in its goal, which is to keep us alive and to keep us healthy as possible. And we talked about eating good foods, nourishing foods, and real foods. And we also talked about moving our body to help us feel the way we want to feel. And we also talked about getting some rest and relaxation in part one. So if you haven't seen part one yet, go ahead and go back one and watch part one, the body. And today we're going to get into the mind. So, the mind. What a wondrous thing this thing is. The mind is a glorious tool when used correctly and when it's in healthy shape. So your mind's so cool because it can figure things out and it can solve problems and it can create beautiful works of art, and it holds massive amounts of information that is accessible to you at all times. It holds the past, our memories. It holds the future, our imagination of what could be. And it holds these now moments. It's a receiver of information. It takes in everything around us and it translates it. It takes in our environment. It's a thinker. It listens. It releases chemicals into our bodies that make us feel emotions. It creates these neural pathways that makes it easier for us to get through life more efficiently. Like we don't have to relearn how to ride a bike because our neural pathways to riding a bike are connected and well ridden, and we don't have to learn how to brush our teeth again after we learn how to do it the first time, and we don't have to learn how to go to work or drive to work because we already know the route. It's a default setting in our brain. So our brain's really cool like that. But the brain is extremely intricate, and if not mastered, it can also be a slave driver, and it can be a destroyer, and it can also be a repeating record. But so in part one of the body, we left off on rest and relaxation. And I told you that we were going to talk about sleep a little bit, so let's get into that. So, in order for us to perform at our optimal level and to be our best selves, we're going to need to get the proper sleep. And 7 to 8 hours is a good amount of sleep to get. And I'm currently not getting that. So I'm in the same boat as you. I want to get 7 to 8 hours of sleep every night. I used to be really good at this, but we have recently started a business and we don't really have to be up at certain times sometimes. So sometimes we've been like pushing it, staying up a little late. So I don't really have a sleep schedule right now. So this is what I'm going to have to do. I'm going to have to set a bedtime and I'm going to have to go to bed every night at that time. So that's what I'm going to do. And we'll talk about setting bedtimes later. So there are a lot of reasons why you may not be getting enough sleep at night. Maybe you're staying up late to finish a report or stressing about tomorrow or worrying about events that may not even happen and scenarios that may not even happen in your mind. Maybe you're up just trying to get some free time watching TV and scrolling the internet. I know if you have little ones, sometimes late at night is the only free time you have. I know I've been there. But sleep is more important so that you can, be your best self the next day for your children and for yourself, really, honestly, for yourself, because you don't want to have low energy. You want to feel good inside and you want to feel like you can take on the world, and sleep can do that for you. So, without enough sleep, our thought processes are a little bit slower. We think more slowly. We can be in a fog sometimes, and we may not have enough energy to make good decisions. Let's say we wake up late, and we usually have enough time to make a really healthy breakfast of eggs and maybe some fruit on the side. But instead of that, we just grabbed our keys, ran out the door, and we went to McDonald's and got a sausage biscuit. That's not as healthy as your eggs and your fruit would have been, but that's the kind of things that we do when we're tired or pressed for time because we slept late. Maybe you don't work out that morning because you just didn't have the energy. You stayed up too late last night. And maybe if you went to bed earlier, you could get up earlier and you could do a workout so that you can feel healthy and energized and energetic in the mornings before work. Sometimes we can be in a bad mood and we could be, thinking certain thoughts about somebody that's getting on our nerves at the office, and here comes that person and they have their needs of what they need from you that day. And then you just out and you say the thing that you shouldn't have said because you're just tired and you just don't have the energy to be a nice person right now, because we're all human beings. This is stuff that we do. So, sleep can help with that. Sleep can help you regulate your mood, and that can help you not be rude to people. It can help you with your relationships in that way. It can help you stay grounded, and it can help you with your job performance so that you can have enough energy to not be short with people, and you can, have enough energy to sustain, a good disposition throughout the day at your job. And this is going to, help your whole well-being, and that's why it's good self-care. Sleep is important. It's what rejuvenates the mind, and that deep REM sleep is what you're looking for. It's that quality sleep. That's the time where we're dreaming. So during that deep REM sleep, your brain is doing a deep cleaning of the place, and it's ridding the brain of toxins and proteins and waste and clearing it for the next day, kind of like a dishwasher. So it can be fresh and ready for whatever comes our way the next day. Now, I understand that sometimes it can be a struggle going to sleep. It has been for me in the past. So I have a few tips for you. And the first one is time management. If you don't schedule a bedtime, guess what? You're not going to go to bed at that time. So a simple thing to do is to use your math skills and figure out when you would need to go to bed and when you would need to wake up in order to get at least 7 hours of sleep a night. And then I want you to go put it on a schedule or a planner of some sort. And when the time rolls around, let's say you set it for 9:30, I want you to honor what you said you were going to do, and I want you to do it. And if you don't have a planner or a schedule, you can download the one that I put down in the description box below. It's my 7-day planner. It's totally free. It's got some other cool things on there that I created, and you can use. It's got like gratitude. It's got what's not working. It's got ways on how do you want to feel, all kinds of stuff. But anyway, you can get that below. And, set the bedtime. And then 45 minutes before you're going to bed, prepare yourself. Stop drinking fluids. Stop eating food because you don't want to wake up in the middle of the night. And because sometimes when we wake up in the middle of the night to go to the restroom, it is hard for us to go back to sleep. So we don't want to do anything that's going to interrupt our sleep. But 45 minutes before bedtime, stop your screen viewing, and that includes your phone, your TV, and anything else that has a screen. And instead of viewing screens, 45 minutes before bed, let's do something else, because the screens will cut off your melatonin from being released into your bloodstream. Now, melatonin is the hormone that controls your sleep-wake cycle. And if you have a screen on, it's going to trick your brain into thinking it's still daytime and I don't need to release melatonin and things like that. So instead of using your screens to go to sleep, let's try reading a book. Or you can listen to a podcast, or you can do a sleep meditation. Another thing is you can buy these melatonin gummies. Now, I'm not a doctor. Please get your doctor's permission if you want to try this method. But I have taken melatonin for a few days in a row to get my sleep schedule back on track. And let's say I want to go to sleep at 9 o'clock. I'll take some melatonin gummies at 9 o'clock for 3 days in a row. And usually by that time, I don't have to take them no more because my body will start releasing melatonin on its own after that around 9 o'clock, because I've been doing it for 3 days in a row. And so that's a good way to kind of reset your body and help it to release melatonin at the times that you want it to release. But like I said, the screens will mess that up if you have screen time. So try to take the screens out of the bedroom when it's time to go to bed. Another thing is if you don't have peace, a lot of times we can't go to sleep because we don't have peace in our hearts. So a lot of things can steal your peace. Most of the time, things that steal your peace is guilt, and maybe you feel guilty because you've done something that you know you shouldn't have done, or you've done something to someone that you know was not you being your best self, and it's not who you are. And it's good that you're feeling guilt, because guilt shows that you're a good person. And because if you weren't a good person, you really wouldn't feel guilt. You wouldn't care at all. So the fact that you're even feeling guilty, you should say, yay, I'm a good person. But sometimes guilt can keep us up at night. Maybe we said something rude to somebody, or cut somebody off, or cut somebody out, anything like that, that didn't line with who we are, who we know we are as a person, and we know we could have done better and we didn't. And so if you find yourself, mulling over things like that, just forgive yourself and realize that you're a human, and we're not perfect all the time. And maybe you need to up your self-care, so that you don't, behave like that sometimes. But forgive yourself and apologize to the person that you've done wrong. That can help. And then just decide that you're just going to do better tomorrow, because tomorrow is another day, a better day. If you're up worrying about something, why don't you take action the next day? Say, tomorrow I'm going to take action, and I'm going to change this situation so that I don't lose any more sleep, because sleep is very important. But yeah, you need to have peace when you go to sleep. And the way that you can do that is to always do your best throughout the day, to be your highest self and to be the best person that you can be. Now, you're going to slip and you're going to make mistakes, but just keep forgiving yourself, having compassion for yourself, and moving on. But that's one of the best ways that I know how to have peace, and that is to always make good decisions that are in alignment with who you really are as a person, and who you know you can be at your highest self and your highest level. This is what we're talking about. So even being nice to other people is good self-care, and treating others with kindness is good self-care, because you're treating yourself with kindness when you treat others with kindness, especially when it comes to your peace and it comes to your sleep. So if you find yourself up worrying at night, some things you can do is you can try, I have a free meditation that I'm going to put below. It is called the Inventory Meditation. It will help you clear your mind and get your thoughts out onto paper, so you don't have to keep worrying about them in your mind. And another thing I like to do is I will just trust that all things are going to work out in my favor, and I will visualize, and you can do this too. You can just visualize how you want the next day to go, or how you want the week to go if you're worried about it. Visualize best case scenario. Visualize everything working out to your benefit. And you believe it 100%. Usually when I'll visualize things going my way the next day, I don't worry about it anymore, because I believe it's going to go my way 100%, and it always does. So this is a good exercise for you to try. And I promise you'll feel good when you're going to sleep, thinking about good things that are going to happen to you. It's going to make you feel good, and it's going to give you peace, and there's no need to worry, because all things are working out in your favor anyway, the good and the bad. Okay, enough about sleep. Let's talk about positivity. Okay, one of the ways that you can give your mind good self-care is to blast it with positivity. Okay, I heard a quote by the name of a man called Dr. Wayne Dyer. He talked about an orange one time, and he asked a question: what do you get when you squeeze an orange? Well, you get orange juice. And he says, well, why do you get orange juice? He said, because that's what's inside of an orange. So whatever is inside of a person, when you squeeze it, that's what's going to come out of them. So if there's a lot of negativity in a person, and you squeeze them under pressure, under stress, and things like that, that's what's going to spew out. Ugliness is going to spew out. Negativity is going to spew out. All that toxicity is going to spew out. So whatever's in here, okay, is what is going to come out of your mouth. So what I like to do is blast my mind with positivity, because during stressful times, I don't want toxic stuff coming out of my mouth. I want it to be like nourishing words. I want it to be positive words. I want it to be uplifting words. And if I'm not putting nourishing words into my body and positive messages into my body and nourishing thoughts into my body, then it's not going to come out under these high stress situations. When I get squeezed, it'll be toxic. Because sometimes it's hard to stay in a positive mood if you're around a lot of negative people that are complaining. And throughout the day, maybe it's at your job or it's even at your home. And you know what? We can't change those people around us, but we can change ourselves. And we can't change how they view the world, but we can change how we view the world. And we can't change their behavior, but we can change our behavior. And it's only our responsibility to take care of us and our reactions. And so we can't control other people, so we start with ourselves, right? Because sometimes it's us who's creating all the negativity in our lives. And it's only because we have so much negativity that we've pumped into our brain, and our thoughts are negative, and everything we watch on TV is negative, and we hang out with people who are negative. So all these things are going inside of here, okay? And so we want to make sure that we blast it with positivity. We're going to amp up our self-care, and we're going to pump positivity in there. And here are some tips for that. So number one is to find positive people. Now, if you don't have positive people around you and it's hard to find positive people and new friends, there are a plethora of positive people on Instagram and on podcasts and who write books that you can glean and learn from. And so all you have to do is just start searching podcasts and Instagram and start going to the bookstore and finding things that pique your interest and things you want to learn about. And these people have created wonderful content that you can then consume, and you can fill your brain full of positive messages and positive things and positive words. So you don't have to become friends with these people, but you can consume their positive content. Okay, number two, curate your social media platforms like you would an art gallery or a museum. Now, so you wouldn't want to hang an ugly piece of art in your living room if you didn't like it and it didn't inspire some sort of inspiration. So why do you allow that on your social media feeds? If there are toxic people on there that are always negative, just hide them, block them, delete them, whatever. Facebook's a little hard to curate to me, but Instagram's really good to curate. There's a lot of positive people on Instagram. There's a lot of positive messages on Instagram. So if you want to get on Instagram and find a few people that resonate with you and what you like to consume as far as positive content, do that. Because you want to fill your mind with good things. And good things will come out when you're squeezed if you fill your mind with good things. So you want to find ways to pump positivity in there. Okay, now let's talk about feeding your mind, because feeding your mind is really good self-care. So feed your mind knowledge. Read books. I'm reading, let's see, what am I reading right now? I'm reading The Power of the Subconscious Mind. I'm almost done with this one. And I'm reading this one too. This one's fiction. This is Recursion by Blake Crouch. It's really cool. And I just picked up another book called Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. This is pretty cool. This is by Dr. Joe Dispenza. I think this is probably about breaking the habit. This is probably about recreating your mind, kind of like the neurosculpting techniques that I talk about a lot. And I just started reading this yesterday. So I like to read a few at the same time, because if you don't like to read, you could also use Audible. You can listen to audiobooks. That's also good. That's just as good. But your brain needs things to feast on, okay? Because your brain loves to think, and it loves to go in loops, and it craves information to feast on. And most of the time, all we have for our brain to feast on is yesterday's drama, or our to-do list or our worries and our fears, and then it just goes on repeat. So pump your brain full of knowledge so that you have other things to think about. Put concepts in your mind for your brain to feast upon and pick apart and digest. And your brain loves that stuff, so feed it. Knowledge, it also takes away fear and it builds confidence. If you never read a book cover to cover, I encourage you to do it. And one of the ways that you can do it easily and to guarantee that you get it read is you can pick a book that you're actually interested in, not some that somebody's told you to read, but something that you're actually want to learn about or you're actually wanting to be entertained by, and set a timer for 10 minutes and read 10 minutes every single day and do that until the book is finished. Super simple. That's how you read a book cover to cover. Okay, another way we can have good self-care for our minds is to speak kindly to ourselves. Watch yourself talk. How many times a day are you putting yourself down in your mind? Judging yourself, being critical of yourself, saying bad things about yourself. Stop it. You wouldn't say those words to someone else, so why are you saying them to yourself? It's rude and it's disrespectful to the beautiful human being you are. So make sure that your self-talk is good and positive. Your subconscious is listening to you, and whatever opinions you have about yourself and you accept as true, they become your beliefs. So speak words of encouragement to yourself as you would a child, and have compassion for your imperfections, and say nice things to yourself like I'm super smart, and say things like my body's beautiful, I'm rocking this new outfit, I love the person that I am, look what I accomplished today. There's nothing wrong with being proud of who you are and being and loving yourself and loving who you are. It's really good self-care to have a healthy confidence about yourself and correct any negative thoughts that come up or make you feel less than. You can combat them with empowering and positive language, and you can love yourself by speaking loving words to yourself. It's good self-care. And lastly, give your mind some attention and rest. Do you know how many thoughts we have per hour? Between 2,500 and 3,300 thoughts per hour. That's insane. No wonder we feel mentally drained all of the time. And now that you're aware of this, you can do something about it and start saving your precious energy. So the way we're going to do this is we're going to go find a quiet place and go inside and see what's going on in there. And we're not going to be scared about it. And we're going to give some time and attention to that beautiful mind of ours. And we're going to nurture it by creating space between one thought and the next thought. And a trick I use to create space between one thought and the next is I'll just breathe. Take a deep breath. Focus and go within. And just give your brain a break. Connect with your inner self. Give those thoughts some space. Even if it's for 1 minute. Meditation is a great way to do this. I have multiple meditations you can try, linked below in the description box. And the best way I know to become aware of what's going on in my head is through practicing meditation. And I have a 7-day meditation challenge that I'll link the first video below that you can try if you want to, if you're interested. And then just go do nothing. Just sit around and be somewhere like you did as a kid. I always do that. I will go out in nature and I'll just sit and do nothing. I mean, you know how you used to just go out in the yard in the summertime in the 90s and you would just sit on the steps and look around and take in the scenery and think about stuff and just ponder things? Yeah, go do that. I still do that today. But pay attention to what comes up in these quiet moments when you're doing that. Inspiration will often arise in these moments. And, some of the smartest people of our time said that their ideas came from those moments when they were quiet and not even trying to think of solutions. Albert Einstein said, I think 99 times and find nothing. He said, I stop thinking, swim in silence, and the truth comes to me. So why don't you try that next time you need answers to questions? But taking care of your mind is good self-care. It is what we use most of the time. It's what takes up most of our energy in life. So you need to rest it. You need to sleep. You need to meditate if you can, or sit in silence. And you need to pump it, blast it full of positivity. There is enough negativity going on in this world, okay? So that's it for today, guys. Join me next week for Self Care Beyond the Bath series part 3. This is going to be about your vibe. So join me next week for that, and I'll see you guys then. Bye bye.